Good afternoon, people. Mountain Man G here. Tonight we're going to make a little bit of a Japanese Vietnamese fusion soup. A little bit of inspiration from Vietnamese pho, a little bit of inspiration from Japanese tonkotsu and ramen. See, here in the mountains we can't get the bonito flakes to make a real good true tonkotsu ramen. So I took a couple of the flavor profiles from the pho, blended them with the tonkotsu ramen, and put together a little bowl of euphoria. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to take our pork lardon, our salt pork lardon, and throw it in a medium large pot with a little bit of sesame oil. That sesame oil is going to act as a lubricant and help protect the pork from sticking to the bottom, all the while imparting a wonderful nuttiness to the rendered pork flavoring. So we're going to go ahead and get that going. So we've let this render down for a fair bit now. And as you can see, that pork is starting to get nice and brown, and most of our fat caps have completely disappeared on that. We're going to let this go just a little while longer. As you can see here, we have removed our pork from the pot, and we are nice and hot here with a nice little ground up pork rendered seasoning on the bottom. We are going to take our meat here and add it piece at a time. Be careful so as to not shock the pan and completely cool it down, because we're going to want to get a nice sear on each side of that meat. After adding the beef to the pot, we want to make sure our heat is on high, because we want to get a nice solid sear on that meat. It's going to help hold it together, all the while help it break down a little bit while it sits and simmers in our broth, in the broth that we're working on here. So while that is doing its thing, browning up, I'm going to take a look over here. If you take a look at our ginger and garlic, we cut our ginger to nice, even little rounds here. That's so, you know, they'll be able to maximize surface area and impart the most amount of flavor to the broth while still being able to extract it later on. Our garlic, we have crushed, so and that helps. All the same, expose the middle so we can very easily extract a lot of the garlic flavor, all the while keeping it fairly well together in the process. Our onions, we have a nice medium large dice on them, because here again we want to impart as much of that onion flavor to the broth as possible, all the while being able to still pull it out. Over here we have a little bit of broth that I pre-made. I didn't need to show you that process. So the reason I don't use just straight water when I'm making my soup base here is I want to have as much flavor imparted to the meal as humanly possible. And I personally feel that adding water or doing a water base really detracts from that. Even though you have all of these bones, all of this fat that's going to impart a fantastic flavor, I've always been a fan of just doubling down and getting as much flavor into that water as humanly possible. So this meat has been sitting here searing for a little while. We pulled out of the pot, and kind of like our pork there, we have a nice maillard on it. A maillard is a caramelization of the meat, or basically the proteins have had a chance to sit in that nice hot sesame and pork fat combination, that piece of wonderfulness, and get nice and caramelized. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and get all of these flipped over. I mean, look at that beauty right there. Get all of these flipped over and allow the same process to happen to both sides. So what we're going to do is, you see all those particulates in the bottom, we're going to go ahead and try and reserve as much of that as possible while just pouring off that grease there. So if you look, we managed to save a good amount of those particulates. Those particulates are the flavor we're looking for. So while there is flavor in that grease itself, those particulates carry a large amount of it. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our onions in this hot pot. Let those start the cooking down process. You can see those onions immediately start picking up those flavors. I'm gonna turn our heat down here a little bit, about medium-low, because while we do want them to sear, we don't want them to burn. So with those onions nice and well coated, what we want to do is take our slivered ginger and our crushed garlic and add that as well. Get all of that starting together. Man, I wish you all could smell what I'm smelling here. Nice combination of pork and beef. Then get hit by the onion, the garlic, the ginger. It is just a little world of awesomeness there. So we're not going to let these cook too long. Our main goal is to start the caramelization process, but not allow it to proceed too far. Because while we do want to concentrate the flavors in those onions, the garlic, and the ginger, up first, we have rice wine vinegar. We're going to do 3/4 of a cup of that. Now, rice wine vinegar, while it does have a pungent flavor, well, as it starts to cook down, the acidity actually will cook off and leave a nice rice sweetness, which is very key in many Japanese broths. Also, the acidity from the vinegar will help break down any connective tissues and extract any flavoring from the bone as everything sits there and simmers. Up next, we have some aji mirin. We're gonna go ahead and use this whole darn bottle. You know, most recipes do actually call for sake, but mirin is just a cooked down rice wine that has been sweetened. Now, there is contention as to whether mirin is better than actual sake in soups like this. Personally, I have found that the concentrated flavor and the sweetness from cooking that down actually helps improve the overall flavor of our soup base. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Up next, we're going to go ahead and add in our big old bowl of wonderfulness here. Now, remember, this was 1 part vegetable broth, 1 part beef broth. Now, I say broth because there is a significant difference between broth and stock. For those who don't know, you know, I've been saying broth this entire time when I actually meant stock. This is stock. The stock is actually just the cooked down components without any salt added. Broth has the salt added, and in many cases is a ready to go soup base. What we added there was 32 ounces of our beef and 32 ounces of our vegetable. So if you take a look here, you can see that our onions, our garlic, our ginger has started to float. It might look a little murky now, but as it has a chance to simmer and cook, we're going to see that start to clear out a little bit. Now, while it won't ever be perfectly clear, it will have a fantastic little umami that, well, quite frankly, I wish you all could enjoy with me. We're going to go ahead and prep our marinade. First up, got some chopped cilantro.
Looks delicious. Nika here.
I'm going to throw in our container some fresh lime. We're going to squeeze about 1 whole lime. So this is where we're bringing in our major Vietnamese flavors. The lime juice, the cilantro. We're going to bring in some hoisin, some soy. And then we're going to go ahead and add a couple things to our broth as well for while it cools overnight. And as I mentioned before, that allows us the opportunity for the fats to congeal on top for us to peel those out, especially since they've already done their job. Up next, we have a little bit of hoisin sauce. This bottle's getting a little low. Luckily, I've got more hiding somewhere. We're going to do about half to a quarter to half of a cup of this. Just a moment. Do a nice hard little shake there. There we are. That should be plenty. We're going to follow up with a little bit of soy sauce. Add that nice fermented flavor. A couple tablespoons worth. Maybe just a pinch more. Nico, would you mind grabbing me a spoon to taste this? Make sure we've got our profiles right.
I think I can handle that.
And then about half of a cup of vinegar.
Mountain Dew. Or Mountain Man G, I should say.
Got about half of a cup of our rice wine vinegar to help bring that all together. Also, I did forget one small thing. Nico, would you grab me the sesame oil out of the pantry? We're going to add a little bit of this MMG seasoning. It's got a nice, rich umami flavor that will infuse into that meat. Just a couple of shakes on that. And then our sesame oil, just a tiny dash, because that really helps augment the flavors on the meat. Right, we are coming down to the home stretch on this Japanese-Vietnamese fusion soup. As you can see here, I went ahead and got that pulled out of the fridge. This right here is the congealed fat that sat on top of the little bit that I peeled out of our pot to get some of that stock broth heated up for us. Sorry, we're fogging up there from our boiling water. I've got some water boiling away for our filament rice noodles. We have right here our marinated tofu, our marinated quote-unquote fermented eggs, pickled ginger, and a little bit of an Asian slaw that I made for some egg rolls coming in a future video. But for now, what we're going to do is we need to take these rice noodles in a colander and submerge them in the boiling water. We don't want to cook them too long because they're going to get real soft real quick. And there you have it. A little bit of Vietnamese, a little bit of Japanese, and a whole lot of euphoric goodness. This has been Mountain Man G doing a little Japanese-Vietnamese fusion soup. Hopefully I caught everything on camera. This is one of our first videos. This is actually my first video using the GoPro to do an educational video on cooking. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel like us on Facebook, check out our Instagram. For now, signing off. Have yourselves a great evening.